Before screens, before sensors, before machines became delicate, excavators were built like tanks. Thick steel, brutal hydraulics, engines that didn't care about dust, heat, or abuse. These 1970s monsters weren't designed to work. They were designed to survive war against the Earth itself. Some of them ran for decades with no rebuild. Some were buried, flooded, abandoned, and still came back to life. Modern engineers look at them and ask, why can't we build this anymore? These are 10 excavators from the 1970s that were built like war machines. Number 1. Caterpillar 225. Early Cat hydraulic muscle. When Caterpillar pushed deeper into hydraulic excavators, the Cat 225 became one of the machines that showed the world Cat wasn't just a dozer company. The 225 had that classic 1970s construction vibe. Big steel everywhere, a stance that looked planted even when it was swinging a full bucket, and a powertrain meant for long days. What made it feel like a war machine was how solid everything was. The boom and stick weren't trying to be sleek. They were built like they were meant to survive a job site where operators didn't care about gentle movements, only results. The 225 also carried a reputation for being a dependable moneymaker. Many owners didn't buy it because it had fancy innovations. They bought it because it could show up every day and work hard with minimal drama. In the 1970s, that mattered more than anything. A machine that stayed running meant your crew stayed productive. The 225's hydraulic system was straightforward compared to modern complex setups. That simpler design translated into fewer weird failures and easier troubleshooting. If a cylinder started leaking or a hose burst, it was usually a direct problem with a direct fix. Another war machine trait was how these excavators handled rough digging. On hard ground, the machine didn't feel fragile or nervous. It dug like it expected resistance. And that's the real secret of many 1970s excavators. They weren't built assuming ideal conditions. They were built assuming the ground would fight back, the operator would push too hard, and maintenance might be late, yet they still delivered. When you see an old Cat 225 still working decades later, it's not luck. It's the DNA of a machine made in a time when overbuilding was normal. Number 2. Hitachi UH series. Hitachi's early UH series excavators helped define what Japanese hydraulics could do. Smooth movement, strong digging power, and reliability that made contractors trust them fast. In the 1970s, Hitachi machines started showing up like disciplined fighters, precise, controlled, but absolutely capable of violence when the bucket hit hard soil. The UH machines didn't just dig, they pulled and tore with a steady hydraulic rhythm that felt unstoppable. What made them built like war machines wasn't just steel thickness, it was the combination of strong structure, dependable hydraulics, engines that just kept running. Contractors loved machines that didn't overheat, didn't constantly blow seals, and didn't feel like they were about to fall apart in rocky conditions. What machines were known for being composed under load? You could crowd the bucket in, lift, swing, and dump, and the machine didn't feel like it was shaking itself loose. They were also serviceable. That's a huge factor people forget. A war machine isn't just strong, it's designed to be maintained in the field. Many 1970s machines had layouts that allowed mechanics to access key systems without disassembling half the excavator. Simpler systems meant fewer mystery failures. If something was wrong, you usually could find it with your eyes, ears, and hands. The UH excavators helped build the reputation that Japanese manufacturers earned worldwide. Not flashy, not fragile, just battle-tested reliability. They were the kind of machines you could run hard all week and still trust on Monday morning. That's exactly why so many UH series machines stayed in service long after newer models arrived. Number 3. Komatsu PC series. Komatsu in the 1970s was sharpening its identity. Machines that felt engineered, durable, and ready for global work sites. Early Komatsu PC series excavators carried that tough, practical personality. They had strong undercarriages, stable frames, and a hydraulic feel that made operators confident. War machines don't hesitate, and the early PC machines didn't hesitate. Once you put the bucket where you wanted it, the machine followed through. Komatsu's durability reputation often came down to how well their machines aged. Many excavators are strong when new. The question is, are they still strong after thousands of hours? dusty filters, imperfect grease schedules, and shock loads. Komatsu PC machines were known for staying tight longer than expected. Pins and bushings lasted, swing systems held up. The structure didn't start cracking like thin machines can when they're constantly hammered. Another 1970s was the lack of delicate electronics. In modern excavators, sensors and controllers can cause downtime that has nothing to do with the machine's physical strength. But in a 1970s Komatsu, problems were mechanical or hydraulic, meaning you could diagnose them without plugging in a laptop. That made the machine feel like a soldier. If it gets hurt, you can patch it and get it back into the fight quickly. Komatsu also understood operator confidence, visibility, stability, and predictable controls. A war machine needs to respond reliably. If a boom drifts, if swing is jerky, if hydraulics are inconsistent, you can't attack a job properly. These early PC excavators created a feeling of control that helped operators work fast and safely, especially on trenching and mass excavation. Number 4. Mitsubishi MS series. Mitsubishi excavators from the 1970s had that underrated toughness, machines that didn't always get the loudest praise, but often earned deep respect from mechanics. The MS series machines were built with strong structures and straightforward systems. They felt like heavy equipment in its purest form: steel, hydraulics, engine, and grit. What makes a machine feel like it belongs in war isn't only how it performs in perfect conditions, it's how it performs when things get ugly. Mud, water, heat, dust, careless handling, and overloaded buckets. Mitsubishi's older excavators had components that could tolerate punishment. The steelwork didn't feel thin or delicate. The frames and boom sections looked like they were designed with extra margin, almost as if the engineers assumed the machine would be abused. Serviceability was another war machine quality. The simpler the system, the more likely a field crew can fix it quickly. In many 1970s excavators, parts were mechanical, and the hydraulics were laid out in a way that made sense. That doesn't sound glamorous, but it's exactly what separates a strong-looking machine from an actual workhorse. A true workhorse doesn't just survive, it stays productive. These excavators were often used in harsh conditions where downtime was expensive and spare parts weren't always easy. If a machine can continue working with minor issues without turning into a disaster, it earns that war machine reputation. That's exactly what these older Mitsubishi units often did. Number 5. Poclain. Classic French hydraulics built for brutal digging. Poclain excavators were legendary in Europe, and for good reason. In the 1970s, Poclain machines were known for strong hydraulics and robust construction. They had a distinctive style and an almost aggressive working posture. You didn't buy a Poclain because it was delicate and refined. You bought it because it could dig hard and keep going. Poclain's story is tied to hydraulic innovation. But what contractors remember is the feel of the machine, how it could bite into ground that made other machines struggle. War machines are not timid, they commit. Poclain excavators committed. The hydraulic power delivery felt confident, especially in tough digging, demolition, and quarry tasks. In many cases, older Poclain excavators also had that old steel vibe, thicker structures and components designed to endure. They were used in conditions where equipment gets punished: rocky terrain, heavy loads, and constant operation. A machine that can survive that environment for years starts getting spoken about like it's a living thing, like it has character, attitude, and toughness. That's how Poclain machines are remembered. They also represented a time when manufacturers weren't afraid to build machines that looked industrial and intimidating. Modern excavators can look sleek. A 1970s Poclain looked like it belonged in a battlefield of mud and stone. Number 6. Bucyrus-Erie hydraulic excavators. Bucyrus-Erie is a name associated with heavy-duty digging history, and while they're often remembered for massive mining shovels, their hydraulic-era machines carried that same no-nonsense mindset. American iron from that period had a reputation: heavy frames, big components, and a design philosophy that favored strength and durability over elegance. A war machine doesn't care about being lightweight. It cares about surviving hits. Bucyrus-Erie machines often felt like they were built with an extra layer of toughness. They were not always the fastest or most refined, but they were built to take a beating. That made them valuable in demolition, heavy trenching, and industrial excavation where machines routinely encounter shock loads and harsh environments. In that era, companies expected equipment to last. Contractors didn't always buy new every few years. They bought a machine, worked it hard, rebuilt it, and kept working. Bucyrus-Erie fit that culture. And the fact that many of these machines were designed to be rebuilt rather than treated as disposable adds to the war machine identity. A rebuildable machine is like a tank. Damaged parts can be replaced and it returns to duty. Number 7. Link Belt Hydraulic Excavators. Link Belt has deep roots in American construction equipment, and their excavators in the 1970s were designed with practical toughness. You'll hear old-timers talk about machines that were built right, meaning the steelwork held up, the undercarriage didn't feel fragile, and the whole excavator had a planted stance. The war machine personality shows up in how the machine behaves when pushed. A tough excavator doesn't feel like it's flexing and twisting under load. It feels stable. Many older link belt machines delivered that solid under you feeling, especially when lifting or swinging heavy material. That matters on real job sites where operators don't have time to baby the machine. Another reason these excavators earned long-term respect was that they often stayed in service across multiple owners. When a machine lasts long enough to be passed around and still remains useful, it's because its core structure and design were built to survive. Number 8. ONK Orenstein Koppel. German engineering in a heavy-built package. ONK excavators were known in Europe and beyond for being serious machines, strong structures, solid engineering, and durability that made them popular in demanding environments. In the 1970s, ONK had that reputation for building equipment that wasn't fragile. Their excavators often looked and felt industrial, built for quarries, civil projects, and heavy-duty digging. German-built equipment has long carried a stereotype, engineered for longevity. In the 1970s, that often meant heavy castings, strong welds, and designs that prioritized strength. ONK machines were often used where the ground was abrasive, loads were heavy, and operators didn't slow down for the machine's comfort. A war machine doesn't need perfect conditions. It needs to work in bad ones. ONK excavators were frequently chosen for rough environments because they could take punishment and keep going. Even their appearance, boxy, robust, and businesslike, fit the image of something built to survive combat with the earth. Number 9. Demag excavators. Demag, another name tied to German industrial strength, produced excavators and heavy machinery with a clear built-to-last mindset. In the 1970s, Demag excavators often felt like a piece of industrial infrastructure, something closer to a factory machine than a consumer product. That's why they earned the war machine comparison. They didn't feel delicate, they felt permanent. A big part of this reputation came from structural strength. When you look at older Demag machines, you notice thick steel plates, robust boom designs, and heavy-duty undercarriages. These were built for serious work, excavation, quarrying, industrial loading, and sometimes demolition tasks where equipment gets punished. Also, 1970s industrial machines were designed with maintenance realism. They assumed grease would be done, but maybe not perfectly. They assumed operators would push them. They assumed the machine would operate in dust and mud. That assume the worst design philosophy is exactly what gives a machine its war machine aura. Number 10. Volvo BM. Volvo BM equipment from that era carried Scandinavian practicality. Machines designed to work in cold climates, rough terrain, and long operating hours. A 1970s Volvo BM excavator had the kind of ruggedness that made sense for the environments it often faced. Wet ground, icy conditions, and tough materials. A war machine is reliable under stress. Cold weather is stress. Bad traction is stress. Long hours with minimal downtime is stress. Machines built for those conditions were often overbuilt in key areas. Strong frames, dependable engines, and hydraulic systems designed to keep functioning even when the environment tries to slow everything down. Volvo's broader reputation in heavy equipment and trucks adds to this image. Durability, stability, and longevity. In the 1970s, that usually meant a machine that wasn't about speed. It was about finishing the job every day. And that's the ultimate war machine quality. consistent, unstoppable productivity. These excavators didn't know comfort. They didn't know mercy. They tore through rock, mud, and time itself. They shaped cities, highways, and entire nations, and asked for nothing in return. Today's machines are smarter, cleaner, and more precise, but they are not immortal. These were. If one of these beasts could return to a modern job site today, which would you choose? Drop it in the comments. And if you respect raw iron, unstoppable machines, and forgotten legends, subscribe, because machines like these deserve to be remembered.